So today I'm going to be making a plaster bat similar to this one. Plaster bats are useful for wedging or recycling clay. It helps draw water from the clay. So it's important to have one of these or several of these, depending on how many different types of clay you use. They're really easy to make. All it requires is some wood or a frame of some sort. This is scrap 1x4 that I'm using. It's literally just held together with screws. Ordinary wood screws are not that big. This is a pretty simple project. I think anybody can do it. So what you do is you put your frame onto some form of flat surface. What I've done here is I've got a wooden board, a thick, heavy wooden board that I use for wedging. I'm using it because you're going to want to be able to pick up and bang the frame down to help shake any bubbles loose, get the air out of the clay, or out of the plaster, I mean. So what I've done is I've assembled my frame, and then as you can see here, I've sealed the edges, the joints, with clay. This will keep the plaster in the frame and won't run out. I'm in Japan, so I'm using this Toyo children's play plaster, and it's got pictures of kids on it, so it's pretty easy to use. And so here I've got my bucket. I'm just going to be putting the plaster, the dry plaster of Paris, into it now. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the water. I'm going to pour some of it in. I'm going to take my wire mesh, I'm going to set my wire mesh in, and then I'm going to pour the rest of it in. If it all goes well, I'll be able to leave it overnight, and in the morning when I come out, I'll have a perfect plaster bat. And I forgot to mention, use a little common sense. Wear a respirator or a mask of some sort. Plaster of Paris kicks up a lot of dust. You don't want to breathe that. Okay, here we go. So I've got 11 packages of plaster, dry plaster of Paris in the bucket. You'll note I'm still wearing the mask. That's because when I add the water to the bucket, it could kick up dust. I have a standard paint mixer attached to a drill. And then I have an extra bucket of water so that if my measured amount is not enough, I can still add a little more. So, here we go. See the dust? Pretty good. I've poured in about half the bucket. Now I'm getting my wire mesh. I'm not pushing the mesh down. If I push it down, it's going to pop through the top of my bat. Now I just found some lumps that I don't want. So I'm going to give it a quick zip. Good. And now I'll pour in the last of it. Okay. Now, my plaster, my wet plaster is in. Now I'm going to bang. And what this is doing is it's vibrating the plaster, and any bubbles are rising to the top. And that's it. Now we leave it overnight, we let it sit. Plaster of Paris is a chemical reaction. It's an exothermic reaction, so it produces heat. Just neither here nor there. It's not going to get hot enough to do anything, but it's just kind of neat. If you get any on you, wash it off right away. This stuff is caustic. It's not great for your skin. Anyway, when this is set, I'll show you the results. Hello and welcome back. Our bat has spent the evening curing and cooling. And so now we're going to undo the screws, take the frame off, and see what we've got. So now we just peel off the clay that we had used to seal the edges, and what it does is it gives us a nice round edge here. Let's see if we can. So here I wanted to show the bats in action. What I've done is I've got a slurry here that I've made with all the trimmings from the various pots and ones that didn't cut it. I throw them in, add water, blend it all up with the mixer, then pour it onto the bats, and the bats draw the water from the slurry, from the clay. Usually it takes overnight. Then the next day you can begin to flip it, draws more water out, and then you can begin to wedge it and you can recycle clay. So anyway, that's the bats in action, and if you have any questions or comments, let me know. Thanks. Bye.